All right. So when you heard it, what did you think about it? Really, like the whole Nintendo like cracking down. I mean, we've known about emulation. Like people have
Yeah.
been emulating their stuff for a long time. What exactly? What exactly? Where did it hit your zeitgeist? Because I know you're just like kind of fresh to this stuff, right?
Yeah, I thought it was more pettiness from them, to be honest with you, and the fact that Steam kind of bent the knee. I'm a little disappointed at them, but I guess that there must have been enough that Nintendo threatened them with, in order to do that. Because if you really think about it, Steam doesn't even house any of their games, so it's not like they could threaten them and say, "Hey, we're gonna pull Mario" or anything like that. So they must have been hit with some hefty, threat or something that they're like, hey, you know what? Sorry, Dolphin, it can't be on Steam
Yeah.
for now.
No,
For
I get
now.
it. I get it.
For now.
I get it. No, okay, okay, okay. Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, you will happen to be watching the game, and every time I do this cold open, I'm still not used to it, so I'm just like, oh yeah, we don't do an intro. Well,
Oh,
or
hold
I
on,
guess
King.
this is kind
I'm
of our
hearing some
intro.
background.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're hearing background. See, this is the reason why we're doing this as a zero point zero
Yep.
point one episode because there's still some kinks to work out. What are you hearing in the background, sir?
The stream is repeating itself.
Ooh, okay. Is it an echo on my side or on your side? There might be an echo in the line
No, I
somewhere.
just I just hear it repeating.
Still,
Okay, there it goes. Whatever you did, it worked.
okay.
Okay. If you
Interesting.
did
All
if you
right,
did
all right, all
anything,
right.
if you did anything, we're good now. Okay, because I was hearing like we kept on repeating ourselves, but we're good now.
Interesting. No, I did not hear that at all. But it's good that you've made it clear. I did not hear that at all. But okay, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to what can be considered. What do we call this? Our experimental before the episode
There you go.
of of the gamers playground, the PC focused gaming show where we try to demystify the monolith known as PCMR. We're here to try and talk some gaming with you, and possibly either learn something or teach you something along the way. I
Yes.
am your host, Mr. K. Asante, and I'm joined, of course, by my illustrious co-host, the man who's weekend warrioring this whole emulation thing, Mr. John Wolf. How you doing this evening, sir?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to be back with you here, Kay. This is our second beta test episode.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
as we progress through this journey together, I think that it's definitely the conversations will definitely be engaging, and it'll be a good learning experience for anyone listening in, especially for myself. Plus, like I always tell you, dude, me and you, we always have good conversations. So I enjoy just
Yeah,
talking.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. No, it's great to chat with you, sir, as always. And of course, this conversation comes about because you and I have been doing, as people do in the PC space. For those who don't know, if you're new to the PC space, emulation is pretty big in this space. Some people do it nefariously, others do it for the purposes of keeping your machines alive or your favorite games around and all of that. We'll get into the deep details of legalities and all that as time permits. And please, actually, if you want to have that deep conversation about its legality and all of that stuff, put stuff in the chat, put stuff in the comment section when this posts, because we definitely want to have that conversation.
Yeah, and
It's an interesting conversation to have.
shout out to Vincent Robinson already in the chat. Uh,
Ah, yes.
so I hope you're having a
Salute
good
to you,
night.
sir. Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, we wanted to come on here and have a Memorial Day conversation, yourself and myself, because we just we've been kind of with the advent of with the new game that we've been enjoying so much so, which for me has been Tears of the Kingdom. I've been playing it everywhere, including the Switch.
Hmm.
It's kind of spurred the will for emulation, right? We have another topic I want to talk about, but that'll come later down the line, and that's the handheld space. I'm
Yep.
finding that I'm more and more wanting a handheld that is the one stop shop for all things gaming.
Yep.
I don't want it to play. like Cyberpunk 2077 for hours, but maybe for an hour, that'd be good, right? If it's capable of handling that. If you're able to play Cyberpunk 2077 for an hour, that means most likely you'll be able to play smaller games for several hours. So that's the sweet spot. That's how I've been looking at it. So with that comes the talk of front end dashboards and how the games look. Is it a console like feel? All that
Yep.
stuff. You know what I'm talking about, man.
Yeah, I
You're
think
in that water right
I
now.
I think you do, and I showed you a little sneak peek of the project that I worked on. I've been working on it all week, and it's definitely one that I'm super excited on, and it goes hand in hand with the simulation stuff. But it's definitely a monster, right? Because before I started gaming on PC, like I dabbed a little bit in emulation on the phone, on my cell phone and stuff like that, but never as knee deep as I've gotten this past week. And let me tell you, man, there's something special. Like I mentioned to you before, it's giving me those OG Xbox vibes when the OG Xbox used to get modded and you used to be able to put your own themes on it and your own dashboard and all that. And it was like it's like kind of like if you created your own. And then
Yep.
Microsoft later on came out and they said, "Hey, here's the Xbox 360 with themes and stuff." And I'm sorry, but they completely got that off the community. So
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? Let us be clear here. Let's from jump. Let's get it out of the way so people don't misconstrue. This is
right,
not a place, and there's a small amount of people watching, and maybe there'll be a small amount of people that'll watch this later as we're ramping up. But this is not a place of condoning piracy. We're not
right,
we're not
right.
we're not condoning the Jack Sparrow life here.
No, no, no.
We're telling you that if you own your games, much like how and of course different jurisdictions, different countries, different cities apply, but where we live, if you own your media, you have the ability to make a copy of said media and play it elsewhere for either so that if we're talking about discs scratch over time, so this will help you save that, or if you have a different medium where playing it makes it easier, a la Steam Deck to Nintendo Switch, 60 frames
Right,
per second, whatever. Those options
exactly.
are available to you, and you have the right to do so. Now, let's be clear. Do the companies like that? Oh, no, they don't.
Oh,
But
hell
it's
no.
not but it's not within their purview to tell you what you can do with what you pay for.
Right,
So as
right.
long as you follow the rules within the bounds of what you're supposed to follow, and don't go overboard, that's what we advocate for. And learning the how to is always so interesting and educational, and those are the waters that I play in. So that's why I'm here for that. So
Right. Yeah.
like Tears of the Kingdom, eShop variant. There's we can if need be we can do that tutorial one day of how to rip the encryption off of it so that you can then play it on an emulator yourself. Every single console has a way of decrypting it and making it playable elsewhere if you want to, if you care about that stuff and you want to learn off of it.
Yeah, and let me tell you, there's something special about being able to, like for me personally, right? As soon as I've been playing Breath of the Wild, which I own a copy on my Switch, okay, but
Yeah.
when you do play it through emulation on your PC, there's something special about seeing that game in resolutions of 4K and running at 60 that it kind of gives you a glimpse into the future of
Yep.
Nintendo's console because that's exactly what
Yep.
they're going to do. They're going to re-release that game at 4K and 60 frames per second. So it's nice to you're kind of like jumping ahead in time. You know what I'm saying? And
See, for me, when I see games running where they're not supposed to be running, quote unquote, where they're not supposed to be running, it always reminds me of the marketing like that they fool you with the things that they throw over your eyes to fool you
mm,
about what's actually happening. Because what parlance do we use all the time? Oh well, this is a Nintendo game. Oh well, this is a PlayStation game. Oh well, this is an Xbox game. No, it's not.
right.
It's wherever it can be played, and that is wherever they decide to let you play it, right? So,
Yeah,
so does that mean that if you're able to get Game Pass running on your fridge, because some smart fridges have what you call, what's that thing called again? Smart fridges have Android running on it, right?
yes,
Does that
yes.
mean you if you have a game running on Android on your fridge, it's a fridge game. No, right? It's the marketing that they've gotten over your eyes to make you go, hey, make you think that this is it's supposed to be played here versus it's supposed to be played there, and as you're able to play these games that you're not technically allowed to play those places, it kind of opens your eyes to all these interesting things. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and there's something magical about the community, like me and you community members coming together and working
Mm-hmm.
on a project. Like for example, all the all the Switch games that have mods that
Mm-hmm.
if that all of a sudden the limitations on the hardware of what we call the abacus, thanks to you, right? of the abacus that that the Switch unfortunately cannot. It's not. We're never going to see a day that it can go up to 60 frames per second. There's something special about seeing these games run at 60 FPS and really seeing the potential of
Mm-hmm.
what these games can be, right? So that's
Yep.
for me. That's another aspect that's exciting about it when you can take what a company makes originally, their vision, but then the community works together to make it even better. To me, that's something that's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so let's get to the main story on this topic here. While we're here talking about emulation, and I see you there, Mr. Joanna Dark. Good
Hey, what's
evening.
up,
Good
Mr. Dark?
evening, Lady Foxfire. Good evening. Good evening. The Darth Kermit. A lot of folks in here. Good
Yeah,
evening. Thank you guys so
good
much for checking us
good
out.
people.
We're not even promoting this. We just hit the start button. There's no intro. We just went for it, and we see
Yep.
you guys are here. So thank you guys so much for the support. Let's talk about it for a little bit. So for a while, emulation has been is kind of the the underground, if you will, of the
Yep.
gaming community, where as long as it's not in the on the main stage, right? As long as it's not, we're not talking about Series X and Series XS and or PlayStation 5 games or the latest and greatest releases, they're allowed and left alone to kind of do what they do. But every once in a while, when one of the main platforms, bread and butter, is threatened, then it comes on Main Street and they have to come and protect theirs. So from a business perspective, I completely understand what's happening here. As the title suggests here on the screen, Nintendo asks Valve to kick GameCube and Wii emulator off of Steam. Says
Ridiculous.
it's protecting its work. I will devil's advocate here
Mhm,
while we're on this show. It's not ridiculous, not for Nintendo.
mhm,
Why? Because unlike PlayStation and Microsoft and Xbox, who have been able to protect their their main flagship platforms, right?
mhm.
Nobody has the ability to, well, you can, but on the margins, copy their flagship platforms games, right? You can't just go and copy Halo Infinite whole cloth right now and go play it wherever you want. No, you can't do that, right? You can't just go grab God of War Ragnarok and just go play it on a PC. No, but you can technically do that with Tears of the Kingdom, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, and I see Mr. Joanna Dark is in the chat. He is Mr. Switch apologist. Here's where the Switch gets smoke from me from that. The Switch gets smoke from me from that, because while I do understand you're protecting your intellectual property and you have every right and capability to do so, it is your problem because you, Nintendo, have relied on old, decrepit Abacus level hardware to the point where now your main your flagship is on Front Street for everybody to copy, right? Microsoft and PlayStation, they do their best to make sure they button their stuff up, new hardware, new privacy concerns, new encryption algorithms to make it more difficult for folks to get this stuff done, right? And clearly, let's be clear, we here love gaming, so we're not trying to let everybody emulate everything so that nobody gets paid. We definitely want people to get paid for the work
Oh, of
they do,
course, of
right?
course.
This is more about preserving the stuff when it's all dead and buried, right? How else am I going to get to play Jet Set Radio Future right now? The only way I can do it is through emulation or a very dusty OG Xbox, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
so I personally understand where Nintendo's coming from here, but their solution is kind of messed up.
Mhm,
Right? Their
mhm.
solution is messed up. Their solution is throwing the baby out with the bathwater rather than focusing their energy where it belongs, which is tightening up your privacy security your piracy security so that it can't be you on Front Street instead of getting rid of Front Street. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing with Nintendo, okay? And again, and I get what you're saying because as a company, two things can be the truth at the same time, right? Like that old saying says, right? As a company, 100%, we're very logical people. We know why they do it because they're protecting their IPs. They're forcing people to go to the Switch, to their subscription if you want to play these old games
Mm-hmm.
on their SNES emulator and stuff like that. I get it, right? But here's the thing, right? There's there there's a place for emulation, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because of game preservation. Because we're living in an age where licensing has become a big deal. So when Nintendo, for them to bring the most popular, most requested titles to their online store, it would cost them a lot of money and a lot of legal mumbo jumbo, which they're just not willing to do because it's not worth the money or the time. And there's a lot of companies that have been disbanded throughout the years. So
Mm-hmm.
where else am I going to get to play WWF No Mercy for the Nintendo 64?
Sure, sure, yeah.
They can't put that on their store, right? So it's like you
Mm-hmm.
said, I would need to go on eBay or I would need to go to one of these retro stores and pay an absurd amount of money for an
Mm-hmm.
intent for an old hardware that will probably break on me, and I'll have to blow into a cartridge which has probably blown into by like five different people. Okay,
Yeah.
but that's the thing about the game preservation side of things is where I wish that these companies would kind of look into to see if there's a an end all solution to it. Back in the day when the PS3, when the first one came out, you know how they put they put the emotion engine for it to run all PS2 games and PS1 games. Like
Mm-hmm.
the emulator inside the PS3 back in the day was pretty good because it could play almost everything right, from scratch. As time has progressed, they saw that that was an expensive solution and they started to cut back on it. And what has happened throughout time now is that we're getting less and less and less of that game preservation. And don't get me wrong, to use the old Jim Ryan saying, who wants to play old games, right? Well, I do. I like playing
Well,
old
no, no,
games.
but see, you know what? While I see your scenario, I think you may be heading you may have theorized the wrong areas to get to where you're going here. To
Mhm.
me, it's not that it's not that it's cost too much. It's actually leaving money on the table. In what world do you get to resell The Last of Us if you've been allowing emulation of it from your last consoles all the way up until now?
That's true.
It's hard to do that, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right? And they've changed their business model, right? And I mean, let's be clear here for anybody who's watching and or listening to this. It's not to say that that's a bad thing. It's just stating a fact, right? The fact is, if you own your favorite game, which is The Last of Us, and you played it on PS3, right? And then you have it on PS4 and it upscales, like it comes with you to the newer console, which I think a variant of it did, right? Then they go to PS5 and it comes with you there as well. Why? Even if yes, you may see the latest, greatest, newest Unreal Engine 5 or their variant of it, right? The nice shiny variant, and say, oh, okay, I love this game so much that I'll buy another version of it. But their worry is if it's able to emulate or back compat all the way up to the latest and greatest console, more people will say, heck no, why do I want to buy the same game over again, which is
You
just the
just hit
newer
the
coat of
nail.
paint,
Yeah, you just hit
right?
the nail on the head. I think that that's
That's
exactly
the
what it
reason they
is.
don't do it,
I,
right?
I
Which is,
forgot what year was it? I want to say that especially maybe it was that PS3 generation and that Xbox 360 generation that was really the last hurrah for backwards
yeah,
compatibility.
yeah. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you, right? And that was the last time they really. That's when it was That's when it was looked at from an altruistic perspective. When people were like, "Hey, we just want it to work. We just want it to be beautiful. We just want our customers to be happy." Right? That's what Microsoft came out and did. Right? But
Right.
more and more, look what happened in the at the same token. Right? At that time, you had PlayStation with the PS3, the fat I call the George Foreman grill. George Foreman grill had a great emulation back compat when it first started. And what did they do? They patched it out. Right. I still have my George Foreman grill, and I still have it working. But
Hmm.
most people weren't able to get their hands on it anymore because it's not cost effective. Maybe you have these other platform holders or third party developers saying, "Hey guys, we kind of want to resell a new version of that game, and if you keep letting them have the same version they had before, they have no benefit or reason to buy it again."
That's true.
Right?
And if
So
if you notice, because I noticed something that they did that Xbox did.
mhm,
It looks like EA when Xbox was releasing the serious consoles. You know
mhm.
how they started giving their BC titles FPS boost. Well,
Yep.
if you notice, EA gave them permission to do Dead Space 2 and 3, but they
No, but
probably
not one.
don't touch one because we're
No.
re-releasing a brand new game.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I say all that to say it's not to say that I don't like it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's a byproduct of business. It's a factor in the equation. And if you want them to be alive and kicking and continue doing what they're doing, it can't be on Main Street that everyone can just take their games in perpetuity with them forever. Right?
Right.
That's
Right.
just not the nature where business will be allowed to be done moving forward. But that also then gives room for those who want to and can emulate to have room, right? To be
Right.
able to do so legally, right? You own the copy, you can produce the copy when asked of it, right? The process itself is not like turnkey. You don't just hit a button and you get it. You have to actually go through a process. You must know what you're doing. And when you're done, you're able to do with it what you will. That underbelly of technology has always been part of the culture. And
Right.
like honestly, like I don't think Nintendo's at fault here because, well, okay, I think they are at fault, but not necessarily because because their intellectual property is at risk here, right?
Well,
100%.
well, well. The thing is that look again. I'll put on my corporate hat, and I understand that from their perspective, they're trying to protect their IP because very much so, like Disney, their IP of Mario, they do not want that IP to be portrayed in a way that they haven't approved because that's their moneymaker. So I understand
Yeah,
that. And at the same time, I also understand that their business model is going to sell you next year. Count on it. You heard it on this show.
yeah,
Zelda Twilight Princess for the Switch. They're going to sell you that next year.
sure, yeah,
100%. And that's the thing.
yeah.
If they allow the emulation of Twilight Princess and they release the GameCube version on their service, then you're not going to pay $60 next year when they bring that HD version over.
So to your point, right, and we'll move forward to a different topic, but to your point, the reason why I feel bad for them, but only a little bit, is because this is only partly not their fault, right? The part of it which is, hey, this is our intellectual property, and we can't just allow anyone to just make a copy of it and move forward and without us protecting it and getting our just due for it, absolutely. But the
Right.
part of it that I do believe is their fault is, dude, the tech was old and decrepit when you released it. What do you think that means? It's not just technology is for the sake of speeds and feeds. It's also for the sake of hardware degradation. They'll find a way of breaking your encryption. They'll find a way of ripping your games and creating emulators for it easily and all of this stuff. And when they do that, it is your job to update your hardware to make it done to block that. Now, to their credit, they've done that since then. Like all those out there who don't know, every time you buy a new whiz bang new version of a Switch, you're buying a new revision where they've probably found some loopholes and they've covered them, right?
Right.
And this is a quick PSA for anybody out there. If you ever want to emulate, rip anything from your Switch and emulate it, if you have an OG Switch, hold on to that. Anything after that battery revision, can't do it because they found a loophole and they covered it, right?
Yeah, they did.
Not blaming Nintendo for it, but that's how the world works, right? Even though Nintendo doesn't like it, there should be laws that govern and allow people to take their legally purchased device, legally purchased media, and transfer it elsewhere, within reason. So,
Right. Right.
so I think that on this show, at some point, we should probably touch on the topic of, get a little bit deep into what emulation is and how it works and possibly what kind of emulators we're talking about. And let's be clear here. I see you clowning there, Mr. Joanna Dark. Let's be clear here. This is not just an emulation topic that is specific to Nintendo. You can emulate PlayStation games, you can emulate Xbox games. Many of those things are fair game. Like, as I said, right now, at least once a week, I get my Jet Set Radio Future fix from my Steam Deck because that's the only way I can play it. I can't play it on my OG Xbox. I no longer, I have to actually clean up the hard drive on that thing. I still have my OG hard drive. It's just getting old, so I have to clean up the hard drive. Otherwise, it's not spinning too long.
It does seem like Nintendo does. They are the ones that have the worst rap when it comes to stuff like this. And earlier in the year, we know that they Xbox removed the all the emulators from their retail version.
Good topic to bring up. Yes, so let's talk about that real quick, and I'll bring that cover up. And I see you, man, Mr. Slow-Mo Backslap. Welcome, sir. Sir.
What's up?
we're not here. We're not here talking the normal console slander stuff. We're on a PC tip this evening, so appreciate you being here, good sir. But yes, for those who aren't aware, for the longest time, and this actually came about during the time when Phil Spencer was mea culpaing with Xbox, they basically said they'll turn every Xbox into a dev kit, which they exactly did with the dev mode that came with Xbox One. So with your Xbox One, you download a thing called dev mode, you use it, and in doing so, you can then enter a different environment, a user environment where it's not in the main Xbox, so your UI is not the same, everything's different. But what tends to happen is you can then carve out storage space. You could install applications that aren't in the official Xbox store, right? For my PC heads out there, they used to have Xbox. Microsoft used to own a framework called UWP. So Xbox still has UWP apps, so you can actually install UWP apps all on that dev mode side, right? Emulators, heart's content, have fun. People were playing God of War, all this crazy madness on your Xbox, both Xbox One, right? That's where all this groundwork was laid.
Until Doug Bowser picked up the phone and called Phil and said, "I need you to cut that off."
So the series consoles come out, and they didn't get a UI refresh. They got everything that the OG Xboxes did, including dev mode, right? So in the Xbox One generation, that was always there. But of course, we know the Xbox One's hardware was not that robust, so you couldn't really do much with it. But as soon as you add it to the series consoles, whether it be S or X, now you got a powerful CPU, pretty good GPU. So now people are using it to emulate, competing consoles.
Yep.
Competing consoles. Right?
Even Xbox 360 stuff I saw, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So basically, long story short, as Tears of the Kingdom was coming out, and I could have sworn I said this was going to happen, because that game uses the same assets, the same game engine, and let's be clear, that game is light to the point where it plays really well on Steam Deck. And Steam Deck is not a system with overhead, right? You find out it plays a bunch of games well, because those games are optimized by and large, right? Emulators by their very nature are not optimized, so you need a lot of PC overhead to make them run well. So if your game runs really well, even at 40 frames per second, it means your game is pretty light, right? Same game, just far more robust and blown out in Tears of the Kingdom. And that means it runs pretty well on every other device that already exists. And I don't think Nintendo's kind of happy with that. So they've gone around both putting the smackdown, as it were, on Microsoft for allowing dev mode. Well, not just dev mode, but people were hacking their way into putting those emulators on the front on the retail side. Did you ever try
Correct.
that?
Yes, I did actually. With your help too. I remember you
With
sent me
my
a little.
help.
I'm just messing around. I know that.
I'm sure. I'm sure that when I sent you that link that helped you do what you did, I advocated that you probably should just stay on dev mode because they're probably going to mess up the
No,
retail mode.
it was actually MVG. MVG. Shout out to
MVG. Ah,
MVG.
okay,
He
okay.
does. I mean, he does great stuff. I'm just messing around with you,
Absolutely,
but
absolutely. Yeah.
but honestly, look, they shut it down. This is my worry, right? This is
Hmm.
and I know. Look, this isn't kind of like a fear mongering thing, but this is what my worry is right now.
Okay.
Dolphin is pretty easy to acquire, for example. And Yuzu and all these other emulators, they're pretty simple. They're a Google search away. You do have
Hmm.
to do your homework to get these things to run properly, but that's just putting the time in and finding the things that you need. Correct. So
Yeah.
the problem here that I see, that is my issue, is that Nintendo is gaining momentum with their
Hmm.
ability to shut things down. They did it with Xbox. I understand why. Like and I'm sure that Xbox doesn't want to condone it. They don't want to say, "Hey, we're known as the console that allows this
It's
stuff."
been their dirty little secret for a long
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
You know.
So with Nintendo now changing their focus on Steam and basically for the time being not allowing Dolphin that was already almost about to release, to be honest with you, for
Oh
them
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
for them to be able to have the power to shut that down. What worries me is that we're going to live in a world of censorship by Nintendo and these other big companies, which censorship is a big thing, and
Hmm.
again, I'm taking my corporate hat off now because I'm a consumer, so I have to speak for
So
myself. But
can I tell you some context on the
sure,
Dolphin side?
sure.
So okay. So and I'll tell you exactly why Nintendo was able to do what they were able to do. Okay.
Okay.
No source company, meaning the platform holder, likes emulators, right? But they can't help it. They can't stop it legally, right? Because by law, you have the ability to create software. As long as you don't use any derivative like proprietary software or code from the source, you can do whatever you want with it, right? Historically, if you remember, we've discussed it before, you and I, John.
Hmm.
XBMC, XBMP,
Hmm.
Xbox Media Player, which turned into Xbox Media Center, which these days is now known as Kodi. It started as literally an offshoot of the OG Xbox Windows 2000 code
That's
that was
correct.
modified through XML code base, right? And
Yes.
through the years, they stripped out all the code and all the proprietary nature of the code to the point where they now call Kodi. And now Kodi as a piece of software is offered on the Microsoft/Xbox store, right?
Hmm.
Before that time, they weren't allowed. They were illegal because they were using Microsoft proprietary code, right?
Hmm.
Now, cut forward to Dolphin, and everybody's very sad about it, myself included. The reason for this is, and shout out to MVG for doing a lot of the background details. You were talking about MVG. He has a video on it too. If anybody wants to get more details, please type in MVG into your YouTubes and you will find him. Man is a wealth of
Really.
great
Yep.
resources. Yes.
Really
So
knowledgeable when it comes to this stuff.
absolutely, yeah. So basically, the reason why Nintendo was able to do this, because they all want to be able to do this, but who cares if you want to do it or not? You don't have the ability to stop someone from just creating their software. But if they can prove that you, software creator, used their proprietary code, they can stop you.
Hmm.
And for a long time now, Dolphin has been the beacon on the hill that everybody has been loving. Like, wow, this is software that's created all on its own. It does the emulation, but they don't have any like proprietary Wii or GameCube or any of those code built into it, right?
Mhm,
Built
mhm,
into it. That's the key there, right? So the software itself should be devoid of any kind of infringing code, right? And that's why it's allowed to stand. Come to find out, they did some digging, and yes, Dolphin does have some infringing code that originally belongs to Nintendo, right?
mhm. Okay.
That's the problem. for those who don't know, like look at Yuzu, look at all these other emulators. One of the first things you do when you first install that software is they ask you to install firmware from either the PlayStation or the Switch or whatever software you're using. Install the firmware, because based on that firmware which you provide from the vendor or from the platform, that then completes the link and then allows the emulator to run. But Yuzu doesn't come with any proprietary code, right?
Gotcha.
Neither does any of those other things, right? But Dolphin, which plays without any asking of any code, you turn it on, it turns on the minute you install it. Plays from jump. And the Nintendo ninjas have done some digging and found that why does it play from jump? Because it has some Nintendo proprietary code in the background.
Yep.
That's why.
And that makes sense, and thank you for explaining, because I mean that does make sense how they were able to do this. Then and it makes sense with a lot of your explanation, where if it's all brand new software that was coded, they're not going to be able to do it, which is good.
That's
right. But what's scary for me, right, is that for as easily as these things are accessible now, I would hate to live in a world where this stuff becomes even harder to find, because I mean you got to dig, okay? It's not it's not hard either, but you have to do a little bit of digging to figure out what you need to do. So
no, you're right. See, but you know what though? One thing I will say, specifically while I share your concern for emulation and how to keep it alive and wanting it to stay alive, specifically for this case, I would say this is more a case of, because let's be clear here, Dolphin has been around for years, right?
Yes, it
and
has,
presumably this code has been in there for years, so Nintendo could have done this whenever they wanted, right? It's been part of the equation for a long time.
What's the difference? But hold on, you know what the difference is though? They weren't pushing a service like they are now. So that's
why sure. They didn't have the incentive that they do now. And actually, once again, shout out to MVG. He did some digging, and if you check the forums, the Discord forums, regular forums of the developer that makes Dolphin, someone a long time ago pointed out that, hey guys, this stuff that you're doing here is illegal. You might want to just have somebody drop in the file, a la Yuzu or whatever, rather than keeping it in there the way it is now, because one day someone could ding you guys for it. This was in 2018. No one replied, no one said anything, and now they're getting screwed for it. So, but specifically to this case, though, and we'll move on from emulation, specifically to this case, it's more of a thing of, hey, Yuzu guys, you've been doing this a while. You guys are mature at it. Your emulator is really polished and really smooth. This is a hiccup. Fix it. Right? Because what Nintendo could have done was they could have put the kibosh on the whole damn thing. They could have just whole cloth off the website, off everything. What did they do? They could have easily done that. All they had to do was go to the lawyers. They could have easily done that because they have the right to do that since you have their code in there now, right?
Yeah, I hope that they don't.
Exactly. Instead, they just stopped you from accessing, from finishing the next level ascension you wanted to, which is go to Steam, which I suspect that's kind of reading between the lines on my part. It's like Nintendo telling Dolphin, hey, we'll let you live, just remove our code and find a way around it and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I'll end with this. I get the business sense of it all and all that good stuff. It's just that this is what I'm going to tell Nintendo. I understand as a company you got to do what you got to do, but at the same time, just be careful, because when you start messing with these internet dudes and you start taking away some of their stuff, it might get worse for you all. So the thing is just be careful. Don't poke the bear too much. That's all. That's the only thing that I want to tell Nintendo.
Yep. Okay. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are watching, we appreciate you. If you want to join the conversation, please go ahead, put it in the chat. We'll highlight you. If you have any questions, pop it in there. We want to make this show about the community and talking with the community. If you have any kind of tips you want to bring to bear, here's where you do that. Let us move forward. But before we do, I have another story I want to talk to you guys about. And John has been really good about putting some interesting thoughts together. But before we do, on this show, we also like to drop some pro tips for you. And last time we were together, I told y'all about deals.gg. Oh, and I see the slanderous one is in the chat. Mr. Everborn Saga, good evening, sir. I hope you're doing well. We are on 2.0 of our weird experiment, and we're just doing some weird things in here. So thank you so much for joining us.
That man is coming back tanned, relaxed. He was on the beach. He was on.
Oh yeah, he was just chilling. You know, he was chilling. He was chilling.
He was having a great time.
Yo, indeed. So let us move forward. But let's do some of these tips real quick, because I want to talk about some of these tips, because at the end of the day, he's asking, when did the Sega start? The Sega conversation start.
Oh.
That is, this show is about an hour long, so the Sega stuff starts about an hour and 20. So how about you wait?
It's the
hour
after
20.
show.
Yeah, it's definitely the after show. It's the show after the show. It's the after party. You know, that's the show you want to be a part of. So the show is about an hour long.
In the DMs. In the
DMs. That's right. So let us move on. Oh, I think I'm having some issues with my browser. Something. It's. Are you noticing any issues on your side? Because on my side, it's botting very badly.
No. I mean, I can hear you clearly.
I think we may be having some issues with StreamYard this evening. Oh, that's interesting. Oh,
Nintendo.
Did you see it move just a minute ago? My StreamYard.
Nintendo,
and now it's stuck again.
Nintendo does a search for the word emulation. They saw the show, and all of a sudden now we're having troubles. You see?
Yeah. It's absolutely weird. Now my emulator, now it's stuck again. Yeah, I think it's something to do with StreamYard, but we will not let it stop us. Let me stop it, and I'll restart it. But let's at least talk about it anyway. So. The tip that I want to bring, bring forth this week is the fact that we are in a world where we seem to be inundated with all things subscription services, right? You have your subscription service for Amazon, most likely. You have a subscription service for Netflix, most likely, among all the other subscription services you have. So one thing you most likely don't know that you have is you also have access to a bunch of games as part of your subscription service. And that is my tip of this week. So let me see if I can, and I will talk to you guys about it, and I'll see if I can pop it up. Do I have Chroma running on this new machine? I just reinstalled my machine all fresh, so it's still missing a bunch of stuff. Yeah, see, I don't even have Chrome running on it right now.
So from my understanding, Amazon gives you games a la carte, right, for about $9.99 per month, correct?
They do, but this is even more than that. So in addition to Amazon, what the heck is the name of it? Luna, right? Which is a subscription service, right? In addition to Luna itself, which is a fine service, and you know, some people have used it, and I've gotten to try it. The cool thing about getting to try it is, if you are an Amazon Prime subscriber, just a standard Amazon Prime subscriber, you get access to trying Luna. So every month or so, they give you games to test out on Luna. Right. And not only to test out on Luna, but then you also get games you can just own. Like, they give you games you can own. And I think that is my pro tip for this week. And actually, let me pop it back up. Hopefully it doesn't crash on us this time. Here you go. So this is the website, and this is specifically for Amazon. This is gaming.amazon.com. I like, next time I'll show you the library. I've been keeping up with it for some months now. There's just a lot of crap that you want to dig through, but it's usually at the bottom. If you ever wanted to try Luna, you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, and you're just like, hey, this Luna thing I've heard about, you know, I hear it's as good as Game Pass. Here's where you try that. Now, you know, the games may not be to your liking right now, but every month, and I think twice within a month, they change the offerings, and you can just come here as a Prime subscriber, click the game, Resident Evil 2 Remake, and you're playing it, controller in hand, the whole thing. Right now, you don't have to pay for it. Nothing.
Now, this is streaming, correct? This is not that you can. This is not the PC version. Okay.
Yes. No. This is their version of xCloud, right? Okay. If you ever want to, you know, people have that conversation of, oh, which streaming service is good, and this and that, and GeForce Now and Luna and da. If you've ever wanted to test out Luna for yourself and see how it feels, here's how you do it. You just have to be an Amazon Prime subscriber. You can come here at any time, gaming.amazon.com. Sign in with your Amazon Prime that you normally use and test it out. If you don't like these games next month, test out a different set of games. But you could just stream it right there. Now, in addition to streaming, right, there's also these games. And if you notice, there's a lot of green. It says collected, 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 right? I'm Mr. Free 99. If you tell me you're giving me a free game, I'll say, thank you. May I have another, right? And actually, funny, I've collected a bunch of them and they added a new one today. So see, as you can see right here, it says, right? It says Leela's Sky Arc. Now, I'm collecting a bunch of these little games. Why? Because when I collect a bunch of these little games, my daughter like plays on PC and plays little cool games and like cozy games, they call them. So I find that they put a lot of cozy games in here that she likes. So I will just like collect them, and now it says collected, right? So like there's this, right? You get a lot. Like I think I have about 300-400 games. Now, these you're looking at don't look like much. I've gotten Skyrim in here. I've gotten GTA in here. Name your huge blockbuster monster hit at some point or another. They've offered it free in here, right?
That's a good
So
to grow a library. So yeah, I mean,
oh
that's
yeah,
this is
oh
a great
yeah,
pro tip.
absolutely. And I'm saying this because there are those of us out there who are seeing these handhelds, and now you're thinking, hey, this is my entry point into the gaming sphere. I don't have a huge Steam library. This is how you don't need a huge Steam library. Some of these things actually will redeem into Steam. Not all of them will redeem right here. Some of them will go straight into Steam. Some of them don't. Some of them you have to download from Amazon themselves. But some of them, the companies will redeem them into Steam. So
No slow mo.
Yeah.
No Redfall. I don't think that. I
And
don't think it's gonna be redeemed too much actually.
stop it, slow. And on that same point of freebies, here is the freebie for the Epic Game Store for the week.
What do we
Right?
got?
It's now until June 1st. It is the one and only Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition.
There you go.
Right? One considered by many to be the greatest Fallout ever known, and it has all the DLC with it. Right? And then in 2 days comes another one. And this also free 99. All you need to do is have a membership, a subscription. You need to sign up, free sign up. Every once in a while you come, you check, and boom, you have a bunch, right?
And I want to say something real fast that I noticed that I wasn't too privy on until I started gaming on PC. I didn't know
Mhm.
that sometimes when you can't find games on Steam, it's because Epic has exclusively signed the game to their store, just like Alan Wake 2 is an
Yeah.
Epic Games exclusive. And I think they signed it for like a year or something like that.
Yep.
I had no idea they
Yep.
did that.
Yeah, see, so for a while now, the only game in town, obviously, was Steam, and it basically is the game that everybody wants. It's the store that everybody wants, right? So Epic wanted to come in, and in order to be able to jump into the market, they wanted to entice you, PC player, to be able to install their launcher. So what did they do? They signed up. First off, they give away free games, right? Hence what I'm showing you here. And they also sign exclusivity deals with crazy, amazing games coming out that force you to go, oh, well, if you want that game, the only place to play it is the Epic Games Launcher, right?
Gotcha.
For an X amount of time. They don't always last forever. They're usually a small period of time. Sometimes they give you a discount included with it, and that's that, right? So, and before we move on to our final story, let me give you my final pro tip. So Alan Wake being the second one, the final one, which used to be better than it is now, and that is Humble Bundle. Now, a quick aside on Humble Bundle. Humble Bundle is now either owned by or they own IGN. It wasn't always this way.
Okay.
They used to be two separate entities, but I'm not sure which entity is bigger, either Humble or IGN. I think it was IGN that was bigger and they bought Humble, but needless to say, since that time, they've gone downhill a little bit, but still, needless to say, it's really cool because every once in a while you can come here, go under the bundles, and they usually have one or two different bundles, and sometimes it's TV, sometimes it's games, other times it's books and comics or whatever, tutorials. If you're a budding game developer, assets and tutorials on how to build games, tutorials on Unreal Engine, a bunch of stuff. Sometimes, but here it's just a simple game. So this right here is they usually have themes. Obviously, this being multiplayer. Here's your, they'll offer you Destiny 2, Beyond Light. They'll offer you Borderlands 3, a bunch of other games, Generation Zero, and then they'll usually give you a minimum amount. So in this instance, it's $12, right?
Wow.
So if you hit that $12, you have them all. You can go higher if you so choose, or you can just hit $12 right off the bat. This honestly is not much because I've seen bundles where it's like just a monster of games. I'm talking hundreds of games, like just so many games, and pay what you will. 30 games, 50 games, like just crazy bundles. You know, since as of late, I haven't seen them go nuts, but every once in a while they tend to as well. So if you have a chance to check out Humble Bundle, keep them bookmarked because from time to time they're pretty cool, and you know they will feed the next story that I kind of want to talk about. And that next story, because we are here talking gaming and talking handhelds and stuff. I know you're excited about your ROG Ally. I'm excited about ROG Ally. There was a recent story that came out about the ROG Ally, and so real quick, and I promise I won't let the tech talk be too deep, but real quick, for a long time when the ROG Ally was part of the conversation and what will it be and all of that, people were talking about how the Z1 chip, which is inside of it, is this new amazing thing that's, you know, gonna revolutionize handheld markets and all of that. Long story short, we're now finding out that the Ally, the chip inside of it, was a chip that's meant for their next gen laptops, which is the 740, the 7480U, which is what it's called. But they rebranded it and call it the Z1 and the Z1 Extreme, right? Which, hey, rebrand it whatever you want. Who cares? Yeah. But before they added firmware updates, it wasn't performing as well as the laptop variants. So with the latest update as of 3 days ago, it is now as performant as it should be. So anybody who bought one, when it comes out, it will be freaking awesome. It will perform well. It'll be great for emulation. Hence why I'm bringing it up again, because this thing is kind of become an emulation powerhouse. Now, for those who are watching, I will not be buying one. I don't know if Mr. Everborn Saga is still in the chat. He and I had a bet that I will be buying one. He will have egg on his face because I will not be buying one. But Mr. John Wolf, I think you will be buying one. Am I mistaken?
Yes, I got my.
You will be buying one.
Yep,
excellent.
Day one for sure, and I also got the mobile
Oh yeah, you bought the mobile eGPU as well.
Yep.
Excellent, excellent.
Not the 4090, not the 4090 version, because I mean that was just outside of price range, and honestly, it's overkill. Yeah. But I wanted that grown man Switch set up in the living room, so I'm excited. I should be getting it sometime this week.
Okay,
excellent. And then the handheld comes out on the 13th.
Excellent. Yes. So now the reason why I wanted to talk to you about this is because, as you know, as folks on the show know, we are Steam Deck users. We love our Steam Decks among our PCs and all of that. I enjoy emulating and doing experiments on my Steam Deck these days beyond your Midnight Suns and all of that, right? Because, see, I was hoping Mr. Everborn Saga wasn't going to be in the chat when I was having this conversation, because I was going to spring it on him, but I guess I have no choice. I'll talk about it now. He'll get to find out. He's in the chat. He goes, "Here comes the ROG Ally slander." Actually, let me be clear. I am actually here to report happiness in that the ROG Ally now looks like, because of the latest firmware update, it's in line with where we wanted it to be. I was worried because it wasn't in line with where we wanted it to be. It really wasn't. It seemed like AMD / Asus was kind of doing one of those snake oil things where they were calling it like extreme, but then when you check the actual benchmarks, it was falling short of anything extreme. You know what I mean? But since the latest firmware, as recently as a day ago, it is now literally falling into the same line as its original, as the code that it comes from. So that's good.
So are you ready? Are you like, do you want to explain why you dropped your pre-order? Is it just because?
Sure. I will. Yeah, I will. Okay. I will explain why I dropped my pre-order. So, okay, quickly. The reason why I dropped my pre-order is because originally I want, where it matters most in handhelds is TDP. And by TDP, it's like thermal, like how much raw wattage you use while keeping it alive through battery, right? So the more you use, the more optimized the battery is. It gives you that definition of how many hours you have on your handheld, right?
Right.
So the
Correct.
less TDP you use, the longer your battery, right? And the more the hardware, the handheld does with low TDP, the better the battery is and the longer you can use it. So low TDP is the name of the game when it comes to that stuff, right? Uh, uh, Hindsight being 2020, we now know that when Valve created the Steam Deck, they had that like 3 to 15 TDP range in mind. So every game they play, even though you can boost it and it goes up to 20, right? And you can't manually set it to 20. I think you can set it to 15 max, but through CPU, it can boost to 20. But they had in mind that within that sweet spot of like low 3 to 15 and in between 9 in there, that was the sweet spot for them. So every single time like you throw a game at it and you're in that sweet spot, it performs super, super well while sipping battery life, right? Not going
Mhm.
so hard on the battery life. All the others that are trying to compete in this spot can't do what the deck does. And even now, a year and a half and 2 years from the hardware revision later, still, even with new revisions coming out from competitors, in that sweet spot of like 3 to 15, the deck still leads, right? The deck is king at low TDPs. So I'm not planning on like replacing my deck. I enjoy using it. I'm going to continue to use it. So once I came to that realization, the equation changed for me and it became a factor of, so if I buy another one, it won't be to replace what I have now. It'll be a companion because 15 TDP is great, but sometimes like you're playing, I don't know, Tears of the Kingdom or something like that, you want to bum rush. You want to,
Yeah, you need to
you want
brute
to
force your way.
brute force your way in, right?
Yep.
And there's just no way you're doing that in Steam Deck, right? So I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom. I want that 40 frames locked. I can't do that on the deck because it only goes to 15 and stays there. Sometimes you want to crank it and plug the battery in and just say, F it. I just want some juice so I can make this thing work, right? And because of that, you'll need a companion, right? It can play great at those low TDPs if you need to go play a game like that. But if you happen to want to play something more AAA-esque, you want something that gives you a bit more beef. And the Ally is great at that, right? So with and shout out to you, Mr. Everborn Saga, if you're still in the chat listening. With the new update, my official word is it's great. Go get it. It's awesome. Go do that, right? It's not less than anymore. It still gets beaten by the Steam Deck, but all of them will get beaten by the Steam Deck at that low TDP range. We've come to that realization. It is what it is. Get over it, right?
Yeah, the only
But
thing that oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were finished.
oh no worries. The where reason why I didn't go for the Ally is because at the higher TDP range, there is one device, actually technically two devices, but one device that's better and more performant than the Ally currently, and that is
Yep.
this device,
You
which is
showed
what
it.
I did go for,
Yep. Hold
and
on.
that is the AOK Zoe A1 Pro.
Yes. Go ahead. No, because you were showing off the there. There you go. There it is.
And yeah, and with this firmware update, right? With this firmware update, the hardware profile of the Ally and the AOK1 are identical, except for one aspect. Well, two. Like before the firmware update, the Zoe was killing it through performance. Every game, it was way, way higher. But with the firmware update, now they're even. The place where the Zoe still shines, though, is it's an 8-inch screen versus a 7-inch screen on the Ally, right? And this is 32 gigs of RAM versus 16 gigs of RAM on the Ally, right?
And the
And
big one. And the
the
big one.
price point, it's $50 more than the Ally, just $50. So
Well,
it made me go, hey,
you forgot. Yeah, but you forgot one thing. You forgot one
what's
thing.
that?
The battery, the
Oh
650.
yeah. You're absolutely right. It's and while the Ally has literally the same battery as the Steam Deck, this thing has 50% bigger battery than both the Ally and the Steam Deck. So there you go.
There you go. Yep, and that
So
makes a lot of sense.
it's basically more bang for your buck.
And
So that's why I
it,
bought that.
what excites me about the fact that that you got that you decided to go with the AOK Zoe because it would just fit your what you were looking for, and you just saw better
Hmm.
value in it. I'm gonna stick, obviously, as you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna stick to the ROG Ally. I'm
Hmm.
gonna trust ASUS that this is a product that they're gonna trust for the lifespan.
I'm happy that you're sticking to it because then we can compare experiences,
There
right?
you go. There you
Because
go.
here's the deal for those who are watching. If you have the Ally, you can use their proprietary cable. You can create your external living room display by
Grown
plugging in
man
the
switch.
external
Grown man
GPU, the grown
switch.
man switch, the whole thing.
Yep.
On this guy, you can do the same thing. You're just doing it manually, DIY style. Because on
Yeah.
the front of it, I have verified this, by the way, John. You can plug in USB 4, Thunderbolt 4, and
There you
plug
go.
in your 3090 or your 4090 and just use that as the external enclosure. So it'll be fun to compare notes. At the heart of it, this is exactly the same as the Ally, except with an 8-inch screen, an 8-inch screen that's less than the Ally screen because the Ally screen is 120 and this is 60. But
Hmm.
you give or take, right? The
No,
Ally, you get
but the
7 inches.
trade-off
Yeah,
also is that this is a 1200p display compared to a 1080p display. So even
true,
the
true.
resolution is a little higher on this.
Yeah, the 12. Yeah, yeah. This has a little bit higher resolution. This also has what is it? 16 by 10 versus 16 by 9, right? But at the end of the day, it still runs
Look at
Windows,
those
Windows
emulators
11,
right there.
11,
Look at
the
those
same thing.
emulators right there in the middle. You gotta
Yeah, yeah,
love it.
yeah.
You gotta love
We'll
it.
talk about that when the hardware comes in and we start getting into it. We'll talk about it. But that's why I did not go ROG Ally day one, because I figure if I'm going to go in this realm where it has to be outside the realm where Steam Deck no longer plays, then I might as well get the best bang for my buck. And this one literally does that. It's the hardware equivalent is about a 2060, 2050.
Yeah. Okay.
The
Okay.
1060 or 2050, which is an interesting place for it to be. It should be good when it comes to emulation. So when it comes, and it also ships literally at the same time that the Ally ships. So we shall see. Oh, and final plus for this device, it comes with a normal sized M.2 rather than the teeny tiny thing that comes
Gotcha.
in the Ally. So
Yeah.
that should
Yeah.
also be cool. So
That's
we shall
exciting.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to putting it through its paces, and let it be clear, let it be known 100% here. I did not want the Ally to fail. I want the Ally to succeed so more of these things can show up in this ecosystem. I
Are
want
you
more and
sure
more and more
Gabe?
devices.
Are you sure Gabe's okay with you saying that right now? Is that
Hey
gonna?
man, because at the end of the day, if this sector like increases and gets really great, it means the next Steam Deck has to set a new benchmark for them to compete,
No,
right?
I believe you. And the thing is, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's an exciting time to be in this space right now because there's so many companies competing for the business, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the only reason. I think that the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck is the only reason that this device is coming in as low as it's coming in. Because for sure,
Exactly.
this device should have been in the thousands. So
And
100.
and let's be clear, and to your point, and you're absolutely right on that. If you're looking at the screen, the reason why they can do that is they're kind of being a little cheapy, and I'm like benefiting from their ridiculousness. They're doing this is Indiegogo, so they're doing their entry level
Mhm.
at 799. The minute that this thing comes on sale normal after their original sale, it goes to exactly as you said, $1,000, right?
Right.
So
Right.
for the hardware you get, it's usually valued at $1,000. These guys aren't Valve. They can't like lowball the pricing. They can't cut corners and make it up elsewhere. They make it up when you buy it, right? So
Right.
one thing they'll do to make sure that everybody hears about it is give you that early bird lowball price. So if you're lucky to hit one of those, you got yourself a steal. Everyone else will have to deal with the normal 199 99.9 pricing, so
Right,
it is what it is.
and we have to understand too. The last thing I'll say is that
Mm-hmm.
the the convenience also of an ASUS product is that you actually purchase this at Best Buy, and this is coming
Exactly.
from a company that's outside.
You're shipping
Um,
it. Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
so
Yep. And to your point, let's be absolutely 100% clear on that. When the Ally came out and I was talking about how I wasn't so sure about Asus's history. Their history has some maliciousness there. They've been a little bit less than great with their consumer base.
Hmm.
This company here is not malicious, but they have not had the history that Asus has had, which is even worse, right? Because they've been around the ecosystem for a while now. AOK Zoe have been doing this for a while now. This hardware has been out for quite some time, but they're way lower. If Asus is not powerful enough, these guys are play school. They are entry level, right? So if you're worried about Asus not handling their support right, then this one's even worse. So let's
Yeah.
just be clear on that, right? This is me buying in as a hardcore handheld fan, knowing that as long as the hardware will be all right, I can handle anything else. If their
Yeah, they
software is
got
crap,
you.
I'm
They got
fine
you.
with it, right?
Yeah, they got you on the specs. And either way, I mean, we're
No.
looking at alternatives for that stuff. So, well, I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that that's an issue.
Exactly. So there's the reason why I did not opt for the Ally, but I do look forward to all the Ally talk. All the Ally talk that will presumably take over the world as soon as the Ally releases. I
For sure.
suspect these guys will release theirs right at the same time, so we'll have some interesting conversations. But anybody in the chat, people in the comment sections, you know, are you guys, heavily involved in these handheld things? It seems like people, the platform holders are recognizing that this is a segment that can bring people in to PC gaming, kind of dipping your toe in without necessarily having to go full bore into, hey, which processor you're using, which this, which that, which detailed, you don't have to get that intermediate with it. This kind of helps you dip a toe in the waters, so it's interesting. Has you, John, being one of those people who's converted, I wonder how many others are like you in the gaming sphere these days, dipping their toe due to a handheld. You know what I'm
I
saying?
these things introduce a way to not make it as scary, as
Mm,
buying a PC, building a PC, because as a console gamer, you're kind of used to your console, and you're used to just turning on your device and it works and all that good stuff. So again, as time progresses and these companies get better with presenting that console like feel, Steam so far has been the best because they really worked hard at it. But I see these other companies like Asus. I think that their Armory Crate software just got updated. That the Fox,
yeah, I
you
hear that
had
they're
on his
good as well
show.
now, right?
Yeah, and I know you had him on your show recently. I saw his last video that he said
Mm-hmm.
that they released an update with weeks to go, and that thing is running perfectly. He said he had no issues with it. He was worried a few weeks back when he first tested it, but he said that the software, the Armory Crate, is running pretty well, and that
Yeah.
that he hasn't had any more hiccups. So if these companies can keep on working on this front end stuff, and then ultimately Xbox, gets their stuff together and they make something for Windows, I think that these devices are going to be even more popular.
Yep, absolutely. And you know what? I think we can end this here, but I will end it here with a saying that Mr. Everborn Saga gave us, because he is in the chat. He was in the chat. His dream is to one day have Microsoft build one of their own handhelds. My dream is to have them have an app store where, hey, I may come to Windows with an AOK Zoe. You may come to Windows with a ROG Ally, but then we install a front end that then lets it shine bright, because Microsoft
Mhm.
kind of unified UI, and it seems like they're kind of working at it. Like
So
the most recent update I heard, Windows 11, they want to stop all the third party software from cluttering up your memory when changing your RGB. So now they're
okay.
trying to come up with a unified solution app with framework within Windows to control all RGB within Windows, so no app needs to be installed. So whether
Okay,
you have
that's
a
pretty cool.
Corsair or you have whatever, you can just within Windows just dial your RGB colors in.
Yeah, they're just trying
So
to take those users away from Razer and and all these other
well, it's
companies.
not even the users necessarily, right? You can still buy the Razer hardware, but it'll interface with the operating system, and then you
No,
don't
I
need to
got you.
buy the Razer. You don't need to install the Razer software as well.
No,
You
I,
know what I'm
I, I
saying?
I got you. Yeah, and it bogs down your system and stuff. So
Exactly.
I get what you're
You know.
saying. The only thing is that when they do look, obviously they're looking at the future of mobile, especially with the ABK acquisition and all that good stuff. So you can just
Mm-hmm.
imagine that they have like this whole mobile. blueprint in front of them that they're just gonna keep on refining and refining. So I think that in the next 5 years we're gonna see something like that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you. And you know what? For all those out there, I bet mark my words. I bet Microsoft is paying very close attention to how successful or how much attention the ROG Ally is getting, and that will determine what moves that they will make in the handheld space.
Mm.
So if you are excited about an ROG Ally, if you're an Xbox fan, I suspect the more you jump in and the excited you are, and the more you patronage and you talk about it, and you're on your socials and you're doing all of that, that will most likely help you see a world where maybe your favorite platform gets into that water as well. So that's cool, right? So
Absolutely.
absolutely cool. So Mr. John Wolf, I appreciate the conversation, man. It's always cool just chopping it up and catching up with the world of PC gaming with you, sir.
For
What
sure.
other projects and stuff are you? What games are you gonna be playing this week? What other stuff are you gonna get into?
Well, I'm just gonna be working on that little emulation front end project that I'm working on, but so that by the time the rock comes out, I will kind of want to have that ready to go. So I'm gonna be doing a lot of studying on that. And other than
Okay.
that, I'm probably just jump on. I think Diablo 4 comes out on Friday, right? For those people
Yep.
that
Yep. Yep.
pre-ordered it. So
Yep.
I'll be jumping on that for sure. And throughout the week, just whatever after work, some Call of Duty stuff like that. Kay.
Cool. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, as for me, yeah, I haven't decided whether I'm going to jump into Diablo yet. I did pre-order it, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. The I've been doing a lot of little mini projects, and work is probably going to kick my butt because
Yeah.
sure, those who know corporate know that when you have one less day, they cram everything into shorter days. So
Of course, yeah.
this is going to be an interesting week.
The
But
Mandalorian all
yes,
of a sudden comes out. This is the way, whenever you get
you know what I'm saying?
those
That's right.
holidays.
That's right.
But
Absolutely. Absolutely.
if you are interested, I don't know if Everborn or anybody else in our private DM wants to jump on Friday. Let's if you got the time, let's do it. Let's all jump on, and I think that game in co-op will shine for sure.
Oh no, I don't disagree. I'm looking forward to really spending some time in that game. I loved what I saw with it. I played the first round of full demo. I got to play the first weekend. Actually, it was the second weekend, and it started off a little rough, but yeah, it's great now. It plays so well, it plays so smooth. So
Here's a
I'm definitely
question.
looking forward to playing it again. Yeah.
Here's the last question. Did you pre-order it for Xbox or did you get the Blizzard version? What did you pre-order?
So I have it on Xbox and I have it on PC because I knew I'd play it both places.
Okay, yeah. So I have it pre-ordered on Xbox. But that ROG Ally, man, I want to play some Diablo on the go. So
This is my
I don't
point.
know, man. You know how it is.
This is my point. This
You know,
is what I'm saying to you,
and,
sir.
and, and like I always say, guys, it's good to mix it up. We don't want no missionary gamers here. Okay.
Oh God. Oh
I always
God.
gotta throw that in there. We don't want that missionary gaming where you stick to one console and stuff like that. Let's mix it up,
Wow.
people. Mix it up.
It is good that we are podcasting in the evening because that would not fly another time, sir. Jesus. All right. All right. I can just see the shirt, missionary game. Anyway, let's move on.
Yo, we're gonna have that merch. We're gonna have that merch with missionary gaming, Honda Civic problems. It's just
Terrible.
gonna keep on
Terrible.
growing.
Absolutely terrible. All right. Well, you know what? Before we go, though, I will say before we go, maybe next week or the next time we podcast. And by the way, a quick aside, we will definitely be, we'll be making this far more professional. You'll be seeing intros, outros, the whole thing. But right now, we're just a couple of guys jumping on here, wanting to talk games from time to time, working out the kinks. So at some point you'll see this turn into something more straightforward and reputable. But in the short term, maybe next week we come on here, and by then, if you have your Ally or I have this or I have that, right? Maybe we then do like a live tutorial of Big Box and see
Oh
what
yeah,
you've got working on and all that stuff. Maybe we do that, something like that as a tutorial for the folks, just to see what's possible in that, right? You
for
know,
sure, for sure.
I
I'm excited to show off what I've been working on. You saw a little sneak peek of it,
exactly.
and it's pretty exciting, man. When you get to
Yeah.
well, we won't get into it here, but we'll show that off at another time.
So I will tell you, and I see my man Ham Solo Gaming's in the chat.
Ham
He
Solo.
and he and I have been talking in the background for a bit. He was getting his Steam Deck up and running on Windows side. He does it,
Oh, okay.
standard Windows. Once it's in Windows now, he could benefit from an awesome front end. Maybe we
Yeah.
show him some big box stuff. I showed him Play Night, but as you know, Play Night's a little difficult to work with. But maybe big box is the way to go. So
Oh, big box is
next week
definitely the
maybe
way
we
to
should do
go.
that.
And Punty wants to know what is missionary. Okay, missionary gaming
No,
is what
no, no, ladies and
he wants
gentlemen,
to
we
know. I
are
gotta
moving
explain it
on.
to him.
No, no, we are
We don't want
not
no
going to go
missionary
there.
gamers here, man. No
We
missionary
we do
gamers.
not want we don't want demonetization gaming either. Stop that. Leave that to your imagination. If I was on cam right now, you'd see one eyebrow raised, just so you know.
Camera's on the way, guys. I'll have my camera running up soon again, and we're gonna have a nice setup for you all.
All right. Well, you know what? We wanted to keep this thing nice and concise. We're about an hour 15 right now. So I would say this is about a time to leave it. It has
Yep.
been awesome chatting with you as usual, Mr. Wolf. I see some great members in the chat, people joining late, people joining early. We appreciate all y'all for being here, for just checking us out. We don't blame you if you didn't know it was happening, because we didn't even promote it, right? Right now it's still a work in progress. So, once it gets together and we have a proper show with a proper concise idea, you'll start seeing some promotions. But until next week, we'll be here for another one of these gaming playgrounds. But until then, and hopefully next week when you see us, you'll see some professional stuff. You'll see some intros, some outros. But since we don't have that right now, John, I say goodbye to the people.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. I know that we didn't put out any advertisement or anything, but thank you for passing by. I know Ham joined late, so listen to the replay if you get a chance, brother, while you're gaming, and we'll catch you guys next time.
And we'll see you next week.